Hello everyone, so let's talk about a few more terms about disk storage and how the data are stored in the secondary storage. So record, as we are saying, record means whenever we have to fetch a record, we are going to fetch the whole blocks where our record is. So record means it's each of the record in our database system. All right, so record can be fixed and variable length record. Okay, so we know that each record contains field means attribute which will have value of a particular type. Now each of the field can be fixed length or variable length. So fixed length, for example, like I can have a car. Okay, say car 9, that's a fixed length. I am saying that the length is 9, but I can have also variable length, for example var car. Okay, our maximum length can be 15, but it's a variable length, depends on the value of the attributes. Okay, so variable length fields can be mixed into one record. So mixed into one record, but in that case we have to use a separator character or length field are needed so that record can be parsed. Okay, so it's like, for example, if you have amount, date, time, age, and all are variable length. Okay, so as each of our variable length, I mean the length can be any size. So let's say the amount is 109, date is 2022 5 6, and time is something like say 10, age is 20. But if the length is variable, how we are going to identify that each are different value for each attribute? So we can use a separator character. Okay, so by using a separator character we can parse the record, like identify each of the value for each different attribute. All right, now each of the records are stored in a block. Okay, so blocking means storing a number of records in one block in the disk. Okay, storing a number of record. So let's say that is our disk. Okay, so let's see this one, we're talking about this specific block. Okay, and in one block I can have multiple records. Okay, and it depends on the size of the block and size of the record, how many record I can store in one block. So this is the term known as blocking factor. Blocking factor refers to the number of records per block. For example, let's see this block size is 512 bytes. Okay, it is known as B, and I have a record, I mean in my relation, let's see, I have a fixed length record and each record has length 10 byte, size is 10 byte. Okay, so how many record I can store in this block? All right, so this term is known as blocking factor. Okay, so now I don't want to actually store like a part of record in this block, so I want to store only the integral number of record in the block. So here I can store like 512 divided by 10. Okay, and I have to take the ceiling. All right, so that will be 51.2, but as I'm going to take the ceiling, that means I can store only 51 records. Okay, so this amount, okay, for this amount there will be some empty space. So after I store 51 record, there will be some empty space because a whole record will not actually fit on that space. I am not going to store a part of record in that space. Okay, so there may be empty space in the block if we want to only store the integral number of record. Now a span record means if the size of the record is greater than the block size. Okay, let's see, the size of the record is 4096 byte and the block size is only 1024 bytes. Okay, means one record cannot be fitted in one block. Okay, so I have to span a number of block with one record. Okay, so I have to use 4 blocks, all right, like that. Okay, to store one record, so that is known as a span records. So a file means it's a sequence of records, okay, where each record is a collection of data value. We know what is a record is, and a file means it's a collection of records, means it's a sequence of record. Okay, so sequence means actually if for each of the record that will be actually inserted sequentially. All right, so each of the record will have a sequence number. All right, so a file descriptor or a file header, each file will have a descriptor or a header that will include the information that will describe the file. For example, like field name, their data type, their address of the file blocks on the disk. So where the file located on the disk, the address will be also in the file descriptor. Okay, so each of the record we know that they are going to be stored in each of the disk block. Okay, so the blocking factor is the average number of file records that we can store in this block. Okay, and a file can have fixed length record or a variable length record. So file records can be unspanned or spanned. Unspanned means no record can span 2 blocks, or spanned record means one record can be stored in more than one block. Okay, so the physical disk block that are allocated to hold the records that can be contiguous, linked or indexed. Okay, so in a file of fixed length record, all records have the same format. Okay, so in one file each of the record will have same format. So for example, one file means there will be a file to keep track of like multiple employees, so each of the employee will have the same format. Okay, so files of variable length records can require additional information to be stored because it is going to need like separator character or field types. Okay, so usually if we have a spanned block that is used with such type of file. This is the sample operation on file. We can actually open a file, we can find a record from the file. I can read the file, I can find the next information, insert, delete, modify, close. I can reorganize or read order from the file.